Are you looking for a good live aquarium plant for your tank? You might have heard of Java moss, as I've mentioned it a couple times before on this channel. But how do you take care of and maintain this versatile plant species? Today, let's take a look at how to care for this hardy plant. Java moss is a Southeast Asian plant that grows in a variety of moist habitats. They thrive in terrain and underwater and can be usually found on riverbanks, rocks, wood, and tree trunks. This plant looks like a creeping moss with delicate stems and branches reaching nearly an inch in length and covered in tiny hollow leaves. When grown immersed, it has larger leaves compared to when grown underwater, and it comes in different shades of green and a density based on lighting. Java moss lacks the true roots, but thrives instead on absorbing nutrients through its leaves and stems in the water column. They also have fine red-brown structures known as rhizoids, acting as roots to attach the plant to solid surfaces. Java moss works in different aquascapes and adds interesting textures and accents to natural aquariums, especially if grown on driftwood and rocks. Hence, this plant earned the title as one of the most versatile plants in the hobby. And the secret? Those rhizoids we talked about earlier. These makeshift roots act as anchors for the plant since it doesn't grow from the substrate. They'll attach themselves to any solid object with a bit of texture. They don't really need to be attached per se, but you can just leave it to float in the tank and it'll attach to any textured surface. Rocks and driftwood are a match made in heaven when you're looking for a surface for your Java moss to cling itself to, but even aquarium decor adds more character to your setup. Though it might take a little effort, attaching Java moss is a relatively easy task. You just need to tie a clump of it using a thread or a fishing line. The moss will attach itself later on through its rhizoids, and the tie can be removed carefully afterwards. If you want to make a tree underwater, this is how you can do it. You can tie clumps of the moss attached to ends of an upright branching piece of aquarium driftwood with the same method I just mentioned. The results can be truly rewarding. Take time in selecting the driftwood, because this can affect the way your moss tree can look later on. There are a lot of great quality pieces found online, like from our partner's Boost plant or in any aquarium shops. It's best to use clear fishing lines or neutral colored threads for a more natural look here. You can carefully remove the tie after the moss has attached itself completely to the surface of the driftwood. Another way of attaching moss is by making a moss sandwich. Sounds delicious. You just need stainless steel or plastic mesh and let these delicately embrace the strands of the moss. And to secure it, just make sure that it's weighed down by a few stones or weights underneath a Java moss sandwich. For those of you who dream of a towering moss wall, the suction cup is your ally. Slap that onto the glass and watch as your aquatic oasis takes on a whole new level of jungle-like wonder. The best part? You'll never even have to worry about those suction cups ruining the view, as they'll be hidden behind the lush green moss. The simplest way of using moss is just to throw it in your tank and let it grow. Java moss can be a floating plant, but there are some good and bad parts about it. A floating moss is a good structure for breeding and a great hiding spot for small fish and shrimps. If left unchecked though, it can make its way to our filter and cause some problems. Plus, having this floating around can be an eyesore and look a little untidy. Here's a little more complicated but rewarding way to set up your moss: the floating moss ball. You can do this by attaching the moss to a floating object like a wine bottle cork with a thread. A clear fishing line would work best for this one, and just let it anchor to the bottom of the tank. You can secure the moss ball in the midwater. Let's talk about lighting. Lighting is essential, but the Java moss isn't really particular about the kind of light it needs and how much. A good light will result in brighter, more compact, and fast-growing moss, but strong light can cause the Java moss to accumulate algae. This little green mop head is like a cozy blanket for our small inhabitants. A good spot for small fry fish, a natural purifier, and it can accumulate algae and biofilm for shrimp to feed on, all rolled into one green ball. It's like the Swiss Army knife of aquatic plants, but in the form of a green fuzzy ball. Regarding good tank mates, as long as they're not pure herbivores or like to dig out plants, almost any freshwater fish can be kept with Java moss. The only thing that you need to check is the preferred parameters of its inhabitant, but the good news is Java moss are very versatile, and they'll thrive in different water conditions. Here are some great candidates to partner up with your Java moss: betta fish, cherry barbs, tetras, corydoras, rasporus, and danios. Now that we know what fish species we like, let's talk about some to avoid. Goldfish and cichlids are a big no-no to your Java moss, as they've got a tendency to uproot, nibble on, or just straight up destroy the plant completely. Herbivores can be a problem too, such as silver dollars or plecos. Siamese algae eaters have a tendency to eat Java moss on occasion, especially newly grown ones. Since Java moss is a low-maintenance plant, fertilization isn't going to be much of a problem, especially in tanks with fish, as their bioload can provide enough fertilizer. In low-light tanks, overfeeding can lead to algae issues with the moss, but in medium to strong lighting tanks, a light liquid fertilizer can support proper growth like the APT Complete for mass-planted aquascapes, including yours truly, Java moss. Java moss does just fine without CO2. However, if used correctly, it can be very beneficial for Java moss. But how much CO2 do you need? If you have fish or other aquatic animals in your tank, ensure that CO2 levels don't exceed 30 parts per million. Anything above that can be dangerous to your livestock. But how long should we run CO2? When you start your CO2 injection, it should take about 2 hours for the gas to reach the right levels in the aquarium. So, it's preferred to use CO2 before your lights start up. Now, plants need the light to process CO2, so it's best to turn off both the CO2 and the light at the same time. But with that being said, lights should run preferably 8 to 10 hours a day, and for CO2, since you would need the 2 hours for it to spread all over your tank, running the CO2 for 10 to 12 hours would yield the best result. Now let's talk about what types of Java moss are out there. Java moss varies in appearance, and this also depends on the parameters of the tank. There are also other species that are similar to the Java moss, however, they might need different maintenance and care. Those similar species are Christmas moss, or Vesicularia montagne, Singapore moss, aka Vesicularia dubiana, weeping moss, Vesicularia ferrier, Taiwan moss, Taxiphyllum alternans, peacock moss, or Taxiphyllum sp, peacock, stringy moss, Leptodictyum riparium, and phoenix moss, also known as Physidens fontanus. You may need to do some trimming with the Java moss like some plant species, although it can be annoying to clean up the trimmings as they can drift and settle. To solve this problem, you can attach aquascaping scissors to the vacuum or have someone vacuum trimmings while you cut them. Make sure to turn off the filter while trimming to prevent the filter from sucking it in. Maintenance, of course, is an important part of maintaining good water quality, and Java moss carpets can be removed for cleaning during water changes. If you want an in-depth instruction of this, you can check out this video from Alan Scaping. I'll leave a card for you right at the top. Since this plant is a versatile kind, pH levels don't usually matter, but Java moss would thrive well in a level of 5 through 8, although they do well in hard or soft water. For water temperatures, they do well from 64 right up to 86 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're setting these in cooler waters, 70 to 75 degrees would be the best temperature. Java moss helps improve water quality by absorbing excess nutrients from fish waste, but maintaining good water quality in an aquarium required regular partial water changes to prevent harmful chemical buildup. It's essential to establish a routine of weekly or bi-weekly water changes and use a good water conditioner to ensure the safety of the water for the moss and the livestock. Java moss can clog up filters because of its small leaves and branches, leading to maintenance issues and potential algae growth. Using a quality power filter for small aquariums or a canister filter for larger setups is recommended to prevent these problems. Regular maintenance and removal or broken moss pieces are crucial to avoid excess ammonia production. A good water flow for Java moss would be a mild or gentle one, just enough to keep the water circulating through the plants to provide fresh water and wash away any waste settling on the plants. Aquarium maintenance should be an essential part of any aquarist routine. Testing your water regularly is important, and using a test kit from your local aquarium store can help you keep track of the water conditions. It's best to test the water before adding any plants and then just before each water change. So how should we set up our tank? Although versatile, it's still important that you're able to set up your parameters properly. The choice of substrate is not that important though. If your tank lacks a pre-filter, consider purchasing one or making your own. Just make sure that it doesn't restrict flow too much and avoid motor strain and reduce filter effectiveness. Java moss fits in with any tank size from nanos to large community tanks. Although for smaller tanks, Java moss tends to propagate, so you have to regularly trim it. Let's talk about some signs of good health. A sign of healthy Java moss is a vibrant green color, and it's going to be soft, but it doesn't disintegrate easily. There's a line there. Out of the water, the plant should be very limp, but should have a great texture underwater. So we know it's good, but you might want to know what poor health looks like too. Avoid Java moss that's turning yellow or brown. Adding unhealthy Java moss to your tank that's already looking brown and tearing apart is a no-go. This is just going to result in your tank being filled with dead plants. Let's talk about some common health issues and some treatments you might come across. Number 1 being algae. A common issue with Java moss is algae covering the carpet. To treat this, a weak hydrogen peroxide solution can be applied to the affected area. Though caution is needed as it can harm fish and invertebrates if used haphazardly. Chemical usage is not usually recommended, although if needed, it's preferred to be used in small dosages. Underdosing can be corrected later, but not so much when you overdose the tank with chemicals. Another effective and natural way of resolving this issue would be to get the root cause of the algae growth, which can be excessive or prolonged powerful lighting, or imbalances in light, nutrients, and carbon dioxide levels. Algae eaters like shrimp can help with the growth of algae, but take note that not all species consume every type of algae. Here are some examples of some algae eaters: Amano shrimp, Nereid snails, Otocinclus catfish, and Plecostomus catfish. Always remember that the Java moss can be placed in any tank, so make sure your parameters and setup would benefit the inhabitants. Number 2, melt. Melt happens when aquatic plants are introduced to a new environment. In short, this is their adjustment period. During this period, plant parts may change color, die, and rot away. Trimming is the way to resolve this issue. Remove any dying foliage to prevent water quality issues and to prevent them from decomposing in your tank. Number 3, nutrient deficiencies. Nutrients aren't much of a problem for Java moss, but if their leaves are changing color, you might want to consider dosing a fertilizer with iron and macronutrients, but only in moderation as it can cause algae problems. Number 4, plant pests. Due to its dense and tangled structure, Java moss can easily harbor pests and parasites from the farm or aquarium store into your tank. To prevent this, rinse the moss with tank water upon bringing it home. Avoid using any tap water as it might contain harmful chemicals. A diluted solution of 20 parts water to 1 part bleach can effectively eliminate pests. Dip the moss in this solution for about a minute, then rinse thoroughly in dechlorinated water before adding it to your aquarium. Java moss is very popular and widely available. Your local aquarium store should have these, but for your convenience, you can check out aquarium plants online. Check out the link so that you can find retailers who sell quality Java moss. This plant may be an easy one, but it's favored by many aquarists for its versatility, easy maintenance, and aesthetic quality. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to be updated with our latest videos. Also, check out our website for everything and anything aquarium hobby related. Or better yet, check out the next video to your right. Until next time, we'll see ya.